What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. In fact, welcome to PCP Movie Night. I am your host tonight, Rockin' Robbie Billups, and we are in March Madness, y'all, and we are at the very tail end of March Madness in collaboration with Dylan's Horror Show. We've had a grand old time already, and tonight we're talking about the directorial debut of one of my absolute favorite cinematic directors of all time, Dario Argento. His directorial debut was The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. I love this film. It's a classic giallo film, so it's like a murder mystery. It's got a lot of those trappings. It helped solidify and define that genre and influence an entire decade, if not more, of Italian cinema as well as American horror cinema. So to talk tonight during March Madness about this fine movie is some of my fine friends, compatriots, members of the PCP crew. Excitable we are. We got Jelani. I eat them.
I do. I eat them. What's up? I'm glad to be here, man. This is a wild movie. I'm glad we're discussing it because I love me some Dario Argento's, and he does tell a fine story. And this one is crazy. I'm kind of mad at it at the end because the end is basically it's an exposition dump of what happened. But either way, it's still a compelling tale, and it looks like it paved the way for this type of genre, which is the giallo, like fish out of water murder mystery tale.
Yeah,
and it's very cool. I think I still enjoy it. This is like the second time I've seen. Well, actually, I watched it 3 times.
well, we're not there yet, Jelani. We're just doing the introductions now.
I'm just saying.
So thank you for being here, Jelani.
You know what?
He's ready to get into it, man. I love it. I love the passion and the enthusiasm. We also got Brian here. What's up, Brian?
Station.
How you doing, buddy?
Hey, everybody. I'm doing good. Doing good. You?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. Very excited to have you here.
Yeah. Excited to be here.
Yeah, just got back from DC. Was that fun?
It was a lot of fun.
Now, I'd like 2 eggs over hard.
And I walked over hard, right?
Yeah, it was over hard.
Did a lot of walking.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, it was a great time.
A lot of walking in this movie as well. Speaking of a lot of walking, this Brooks walks tall. I don't know I didn't know where I was going to go with that. Brooks is here as well. What's up, Brooks?
You can't win them all.
Can't win them all. That's kind of one of the points of this movie, right? Yeah. All right, so this was Brian's first time watching this?
It was, yeah.
And it was Brooks's first time.
Yep.
But it wasn't Jelani's, right?
No.
Okay.
I've seen this before. Definitely
Definitely not mine as well. So let's talk about this. 1970. Dario Argento was already writing screenplays. He had done several, including Once Upon a Time in the West. His father was a producer, a very successful producer in Italy, doing some of those Sergio Leone type things, right? Maybe that's why Ennio Morricone is doing the score here. Not bad for your first fucking movie, right? So Dario Argento writes this script. It's loosely based on a novel or a short story called The Screaming Mimi. He didn't acknowledge that it was adapted from that, but there's a lot of stuff in Italian cinema where they're just like, the copyright law is a little weird and loose over there sometimes, where like, they did the sequel to Argento's Dawn of the Dead as Zombie, but it's not connected because it's not anyway. So it's kind of loosely based on that, but an absolutely fantastic movie. I'm a huge Argento fan. And this, when I first started watching his earlier work, having gotten into him from movies like Suspiria and Inferno and Opera and Tenebrae, watching that 80s stuff, which I think is peak, right? But now I think peak is like late 70s. Of Argento, right? It starts with Deep Red and it goes right into Inferno through Tenebrae in the 80s. Like, I love that stuff. But there was something different about these early ones that kind of put me off at first. It's because they're more like in that giallo kind of thing where, it's the Italian word for yellow. It references the predominant color on a lot of those pulpy horror, murder, mystery novels that would be on there, right? So Mario Bava, I think, is credited with really kind of helping create the genre with I can't remember the name of the movie, but it's in the 60s. But this is one of those movies that really defines it and makes also a very supreme artistic statement for Dario Argento. So he wrote this film And his father suggested you should direct it. You should direct it. And he wasn't anticipating having a career as a film director, but it started a long career as a film director. In fact, he's got a new one coming out for like, he hasn't done anything in years and years. And he's got a new one coming out, plus a new movie that he's acting in. So really, I love his vision. There's a lot of stuff about the dude, but he directed this film, I think, for a dude's first time making a movie. Freaking incredibly well done, bringing in style, bringing in something different, doing some interesting things visually and with the story. It's a very coherent story, which you don't get in a lot of certain Argento films, you know. But this is a solid film, a great murder mystery. And nowadays, I love it. The more I watch it, the more I revisit this movie, the more I love it and appreciate it, because it may not be as out there as some of his later work in the 80s, right? But it is definitely artistic and excellent in craft already at a young age, right? So, Jelani, what do you think overall about The Bird with the Crystal Plumage?
Well, I love this movie. It's not bad. It's very pretty to look at. It's styled very well. I love the music. I love the tone of it. It tells a brilliant story of just, I don't know, just horrible murder, and how it like sets up what, you know, what a victim is, and what the role, what you see is not always what you get. I don't know how to explain that, but it's like you see something that happens, but then at the same time, it's not exactly what you want to see, or you see it in one way and it's really another way. This movie is really good at that. It tells a brilliant story. The music is great. I love aspects of this film. It took a long time for me to like really appreciate it, because I watched it once like years ago and I was like, this film, I don't know what's going on with this. This makes no sense to me. And then I thought about it for longer and I was like, oh crap. Yeah, that's nuts. It does have, like I said before, the exposition dump at the end of what exactly is happening, but you could have told me that a little better. But I understand that was Dario Argento's first film, so I get it. I totally get it. And watching it this time, I really appreciate it even more. It's such a visual treat. Like, for a guy that really didn't have the eye at the beginning, it looks like he did. He has the colors.
Yeah.
He has those creepy statues. The statue,
the sense of architecture.
The sense of architecture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything about the glass box that guy is stuck in. I don't know. I was like, what is the use of this damn thing? But it's so beautiful, because you're like, he's trapped in this box while he thinks this woman is being attacked. And initially, it's insane. Like, oh my God, I can't get in here and I need to help this woman. But you can't do it. And it's that terror, it's that feel, it's that suspense that I get in it. And I really enjoy that film for that. It builds up very well. So I really enjoy this film. Watching it, like I said, this is like my third time watching it. So I really appreciated it. So
yeah, ages like a fine Italian wine, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Not bad for a first movie that was made and crafted over 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Y'all.
He does really well.
This cat's got another movie about to come out, and I'm excited for it. What is it called? Dark Shades, Black Shades, something like that.
You just told me.
Brian, this was your first time watching this movie. I think you inherited my old Blue Underground Blu-ray copy when I upgraded graciously from a gift from my girlfriend, Jamie. I got the Arrow version, which is amazingly beautiful, and it's got some great special features and stuff. So I'm very curious.
Better.
What did you think about the movie?
Man, I loved it. And yes, you are correct. You did give me your copy, and been meaning to watch it. And then, after mentioned doing a show on it, I was super excited because gave all the inspiration I needed. I wasn't sure what to. I think part of why I loved it so much is I wasn't sure what to expect. I did like Suspiria, and I have to admit that I think I confused him for Alejandro Jodorowsky, because I thought he also did Santa Sangre. So I thought I didn't he did not do that movie. So pretty much Suspiria and this are the only ones I've actually seen. And this made me want to watch a lot more because it's hard for me to put my finger on it, what I love so much about it, because like it is his first movie, but like the people working for him, because I loved it so much, I watched all the special features. I watched all the interviews at the end, and it was so cool. And one of the interviews is with Ennio Morricone, by the way, and should totally watch that. Dude's awesome. And I mean, I think it was just the feel of everything. Like I was going to do my usual, because I don't get to start movies till about 10:30 or 11 at night. I was going to do like just try to watch half of it and then watch the next half. But no, I ended up staying up till 1 o'clock, watching it. And
Nice.
And I watched a couple of the interviews after that, and I at least saved some for the next night. But yeah, I mean, it's like the one thing. Also, I think like the acting actually was really solid, and I wasn't expecting that out of it, because a lot of these movies sometimes you're kind of like, but
it's Italian, yeah.
I mean, and the Blu-ray allowed me to actually, because like 5 minutes in, I was tired of the dubbing. And so I checked, and I was able to put it in Italian and then watch it on subtitles, and the subtitles were yellow, thankfully. So I did watch it that way. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm real excited. I had a blast watching it, man.
Oh, that's awesome.
I want to go watch it again. I texted my buddy, another friend of mine earlier, see if he'd seen it. He's seen like just about everything, and he hadn't seen it. And so I was like, well, next couple weeks I'm coming over. We're going to check it out.
Heck yeah, man. I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you liked it so much. That's really cool. I'm glad that Blu-ray went to a good home.
Yeah. I will say, I think that Mario Bava movie is The Girl Who Knew Too Much.
That's right. The Girl Who Knew Too Much. But Blood and Blood Lace, I hear, is another one that's considered.
Yeah, I think that's more in line with the genre. Right. Yeah. And then from what I read, this is the first mainstream success in that genre. Like this one, like kind of blew up. Huge.
Yeah, really did. Jolly was very prevalent in 70s Italian cinema because of this movie. And then it goes into another whole direction in the 80s with Fulci and Mario Bava's son, Lamberto Bava.
Okay.
When we get into the Gates of Hell and the Demons era of Italian horror cinema, which I just freaking love as well. So I love Italian movies, great Westerns, great horror films, great murder mysteries. Speaking of murder mysteries, Brooks has been involved in a murder mystery his entire life. And he's finally now watched The Bird with the Crystal Plumage by way of Tubi, I believe, right? So where it is streaming. So if you haven't watched it, check it out. Brooks, what'd you think about the film?
It's all right. I mean, I feel like I should like it more. I mean, and it looks good. The music is great. It kind of loses me in the beginning of the third act, and I start to lose interest in it a little bit. But it does, and it picks back up at the end. I like the ending. But I mean, I think, and there's the kind of expectations from this is the guy who made Suspiria too. But I didn't know it was his first movie. But I mean. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense now, when I think about it.
Yeah, you don't just start with Suspiria.
I think it's still a good movie, and it was a good watch. I watched it 2 times.
Was it better the second time?
A little bit, yeah.
I don't know if you were high enough, maybe. I don't know. Maybe you should try it again a third time. I don't know. That's what I think. I'm just joking.
Maybe I need to do harder drugs this time.
No, we just we always appreciate when Brooks is able to ground us, because I think we're a bit. I am in the fucking clouds, like right now, having talked about yet another Dario Argento film. This is our second Argento film to talk about on PCP Movie Night, and you would think that we would talk about more of his films, right? But we got more coming. We got one planned for Horror Fest, and I'm very excited for that one. But yeah, Brooks didn't like it as much as we did, but still liked it. Kind of to a bit, and then with the added context of his first film and that it's something okay, I get it though. When I first watched the film, I was like, like it's not Tenebrae, it's not Suspiria, and like I like the music in it. We'll get into that, but it's not Goblin. I hate to say that about Morricone, but it's still Goblin. It's not Goblin. You know what I'm saying? And this is just him like being like, this is like. We'll get to the music anyway. But a great movie. has a great cast. What do you think about the cast? Brian had mentioned he wasn't prepared for a movie that was acted so well as this one. What was a cast performance that you thought was worthy of highlighting, Jelani?
You'll think me crazy, but it's in my title. I think it's the freaking artist.
The guy that did the painting.
The guy that did the painting of the attack. I think, not that he's the best character in the movie. I mean, I could pick that differently, but man, I love his. I mean, I love his whole scene. Like, I understand how a crazy dude would just like make this painting, and then he's like Sam's asking him like, "Hey, you know, do you still do work like this?" It's like, no, that was just a phase I was going through. This is what I do, and like. It's a painting of a woman getting attacked by a man, and it's just like the weirdest. It's the attack that pretty much triggers what happens, and it's so weird to see that from this guy. And he's got like big crazy hair, and he's got like a room full of cats, and like he's feeding Sam this great meal, and he's like, "This meal's great, you know, what's going on?" It's like,
it's such a weird scene too, because he's like, have a drink, have some food. And you, at first you get the idea that Sam doesn't want anything to do with it. He's just trying to play along. Then he starts like really chowing down.
And he's digging it. He's digging it.
And then when he takes it away, he tries to get more.
Yeah.
Great little comedic. This movie's kind of comedic for Argento, which is another thing that separates it from some of his others.
Man. And like that, the fact that character just stands out to me. I just love that character. I have no clue. Every time I watch it, I'm like, I wait for that scene. I'm just like, yeah, he's coming. Yeah, he's coming. So it's so cool to see him in this film. And I don't know who played that character. And I watched it in Italian, and I watched it dubbed. I prefer in Italian, but when it's dubbed, I watched this time dubbed. And I was like,
his accent though, it's his accent when he's dubbed. That's the best. You know, he's like, and he's like, why you got to keep the cats fat? And he's like, because I eat them.
And I'm like, yeah, you do. And you can tell. And I was like, oh God. He's like, what do you think you've been eating?
Yeah, I love it.
It's so cool. But
yeah, he's a cool cat. He is a cool character, I should say. Not a cool. He's not a cool cat, but he is a cool character.
He's a cool
character. Stands out.
Yeah.
What about you, Brian? What's a performance you want to highlight? What's up, Two Gun?
I like the dude in the Giallo jacket. That whole chase scene. That was actually one of my favorite parts of the movie.
The random henchman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I'm still not sure how that was connected.
And that never
he hired him.
Never resolved.
Never
resolved.
He got killed. They killed him.
When they killed him?
He sees the dead body. He sees the body dead somewhere, like at the police station or something.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
she spoilers. Yeah. She hired him, and that's why there were two. And then the police guy, when he gets, because remember that police officer gets run the fuck over.
Yeah,
you know. And so it does, because it's a lot of red herring type shit that they're doing to get you away from what the actual reveal is going to be, which I think actually makes the reveal work. But
it does. But it's still, you have to explain it to me. You don't have to explain that to me. I kind of guessed what else happening.
You just missed that bit. But yeah, he sees the dead body. Like, he's like, it's another, we got another body in the morgue. Because him and the detective have a really, like, I think this is a lonely ass detective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's just like, yes. Yeah, let's fucking.
Here's the criminology reports. Here's the blood work. Here's all the stuff. We put it into a computer. You want to see what the like, dude? That dude is a potential suspect, and you're like showing him everything.
Anyway, go on, Brian.
Yeah, that did crack me up when they were doing some of the computer, and it said it was like a 90% accuracy, and they printed out that dot matrix person, just a person.
Yeah. Computer was wrong, by the way.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, but I really I like that whole scene because just like it was real tense and everything, and then when he got out into the crowd, then he was chasing him. I love that, that it changed who was chasing who, and I don't know, it just like I don't know. I like that scene a lot. So
and that dude kind of physically stands out, right? Like as an odd kind of character. Well, it looks like he was drawn by Daniel Klaus or something.
Yeah, and that was part of. Like, I know we're going to talk about structure and cinematography, but part of why I like that was because most of it's dark, or kind of washed out colors, but that, like, you had this bright yellow thing focused this whole time, on the thing, and everything else is just black. It just looked gorgeous to me, the way that the whole thing went. I don't know. It's cool.
Absolutely. Speaking of cool and gorgeous, Brooks, what's a cast member you want to highlight?
Well, I was kind of torn between whether I would choose So Long or the main killer. I think I fell on the main. I think I like the main killer's performance. I think.
Why don't you can touch on both of them if you want, because I think they're both worthy of mentioning, right?
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to take two, in case you wanted So Long.
No, you can keep them, man. So long. I just love the idea. Is like I say so long so I don't stutter. Like it's just so fucking weird.
Okay. Yeah, now I know what you guys are talking about.
Because you can tell he's he has problems speaking and everything, but every once in a while that'll slip away and you'll see like kind of the more savvy, I guess, side of him. Like you can see him actually being a criminal who's just kind of trying to use his disability to garner sympathy.
Yeah.
He's pimping.
Because he's even like, oh, these poor girls, they're out there with no one to protect them.
Yeah.
So long.
So in the subtitles, it just says bye. So it took me a while to figure out what you guys were talking about there. It doesn't say so long in the subtitles.
So it just must be like an Italian word that references like so long, goodbye, something like that, right? So yeah. But in the English dub, the English dub is fine.
Is okay.
It's fine. It's fine.
I'll have to watch that.
It's not terrible.
I'll watch it that way.
Yeah, but I think that the killer is my favorite. Like especially at the end, after the reveal, like she looks so crazy. Like I love that performance. Like when she knocks that weird ass piece of art on him with like all the blades, and she just like it's like she's just it's like this gleeful, like
I'm gonna kill you
kind of psychopath, just like
Joker or some shit, man.
Yeah. And she's not in it that much, which is kind of regrettable. And it was kind of interesting watching it the second time, knowing so I could watch her reactions and stuff earlier on in the movie and see it from that perspective.
Yeah, she's probably my favorite in the whole thing, just because of that turn. Like that's one of the best heel turns ever, because then you're just like,
you feel
chick's
sorry
fucking
for her.
Crazy.
Yeah,
chick's fucking crazy, man.
She got a knife collection.
Crazy hot.
Yeah.
The other one I want to really highlight is Sam, which is Tony Musante, playing the main character, right? It's a dude. It's very interesting because there's so much character work being done, I think, very subtly, right? Because it's all there. But for instance, and I want to dive in more on this when I'm talking about the theme, but he's a writer who had a very big success. He is moving to Italy to be inspired to write his next novel. Apparently that doesn't happen because what did he do? He wrote a fucking book about birds, right? Which just so happens to be very key to him figuring out the mystery, right? It's kind of part of it, right? Because he understands, oh, the bird, I heard the bird sound. So it's in his subconscious. That's what the whole title of this movie represents. But the earnest performance of this dude's obsession with this case, his struggle with what I think the thematic relevance is in this movie, I think it's a really good, solid performance, right? Him and the detective, like they have a really kind of good buddy relationship where you do feel like this is a dude. All right, there's a moment. I'll just go ahead and point this out now so that later on it can pay off. When he shows up, he grabs a drink of his whiskey or whatever, right? And J&B, is it J&B or whatever?
J&B.
Like, yeah. And she looks at him and she's ready. She's like, don't you want to come to bed? He grabs the drink. She goes, it's been a month. And I'm like, oh, this dude is grasping for meaning, for some kind of insight, some kind of inspiration. You know what I'm saying? And I think he actually handles that kind of obsessive passion that he has very, very well. So I wanted to point that out ahead of time. Style structure. We're going to talk about cinematography, the script, the pacing, the look of the film. What do you think about it, Jillian?
I love it. I love how it's shot. Like I said, I go back to that glass case every time, like that glass room. It is insane that someone has this in their like studio / house. They're just
It's like an art gallery, right?
It was an art gallery, but like it locks itself. Like
that's the entrance. So it's like that's
So you
basically the
walk
foyer or whatever.
Yeah, the
right?
foyer room before you go in. It's so cool, but the way it's shot.
How do you open the door?
You're like, how do I get out? Get me out! Why don't you have a button for this? Why can't I get out of this?
It reminds me of
so
that.
Weird.
It's not the same kind of sequence, but it's like that weird shit in Dawn of the Dead where I was like, wait, how does this fucking sliding door work? Because they have to pull it out and slide it over. Like things were different back in the 70s, man. They hadn't figured out doors yet.
I don't know how to get out of this. Man, a lot of people died in that thing. So yeah, I love how that's shot. I love the way that you don't really see the killer, but technically it wasn't the killer, but the way it's shot, and then like the way he's like in bed with his model girlfriend. Sam's in the bed with the model girlfriend, and he's thinking about the stabbing and the attack, and like you still don't really get the pieces yet. I love how it flashes back to those parts. I love the colors in this. The colors are insane, especially that bright red jacket, like you said before, Brian. I like how like this hitman is the dumbest hitman ever. Like he's trying to kill you with this bright yellow jacket on in the middle of the dark. Who the crap does that? You're stupid. You're trying to blend into what?
But then you find out why.
Why?
Right?
Yeah.
Such a
it's
bizarre
cover. It's his cover. It's just so weird, and it's just like I'm just saying initially when he's chasing him down and all those things, it's just so weird to have a bright yellow jacket on while you're doing this, and it's a good cover.
It stands out visually though, right?
Yeah,
and that's
it does
something
stand out.
Yeah,
and
even at the early age, this early point in his career, Argento was thinking about that.
He knows what color, like bright color. He's like, I'm gonna use color for that. So,
and the red with the blood,
the red and the blood, and I like the red when at the very beginning when like she has the knives, because I know that's her. You can tell at the very beginning, because the second time I watched it, I knew what was going to happen, and I was like, oh, yeah, slender, very slender hands, very slender body, but it's like with these manly heavy gloves with like knuckles on the gloves. It was weird, and like touching those red the knives on that red like felt setup. I love the colors of it. I was like, oh yeah, this is very nice. I like that. But it's shot well. It's brilliantly shot. For a guy for like his first time, he was like, on that cinematographer, and he's like, point it there. I want that to happen here. I knew he had direction in it. So like Argento has an eye for it. He didn't know he did. And the fact that it was in this film, it looks it looks great, man. I love this film. I love how it's shot. I love how it's paced. It's perfectly timed too. Like I'm not bored for real.
Bro, they're able to do a really interesting murder mystery with a twist ending. And they're able to do it somehow in less than 3 hours. I don't understand. Yeah. They do it in less than 2. I don't understand how a movie could possibly do this and have character arcs and say something thematically. Oh.
I like all the characters in it. They all tell their story very well. So long as it's cool. But yeah, it's very. I think it's paced well to me.
Hell yeah,
I really like it. I'm sorry, that's it. Yeah, I love the style structure of this film. It's gorgeous.
Brian, style structure. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I loved all that. I was gonna say that when you're talking about like the scenes with the knife and all that stuff, like found out watching the interviews and stuff that Dario Argento played the double. Actually, the killer double.
So he was a very slender man back in those days. If you guys see, and he had the crazy ass fucking hair.
Yeah,
he looked like somebody that would make these kind of movies.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That was actually going to be my backup favorite character, was him as the killer's double. But anyway, but yeah. So like, cinematography part, like I loved it throughout this entire thing because like 70s, a little limited, with some of the stuff, but like the they do a lot of close-ups back then, and actually the behind the scenes actually talked about that in a pretty interesting way. Like that was actually, I guess that was started in, early on, but and the point of it was to, like you're trying to get inside the person's mind, they're showing close so you can really see the facial expressions and everything like that. And then the center photographer said now it's just used because of the aspect ratio between TV and movies was different and stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But the pacing of it I thought was perfect. I was never bored. We'll get to it later, but yeah, I did find the exposition dump at the end a little ham-fisted, but
it's so weird.
That's how a lot of movies are back in those days, though. Like even Psycho is a big
Yeah.
exposition dump at the very end.
Yeah, but that was like, it wasn't like, I'm gonna tell you everything this woman was feeling and all what happened and why she did this. Well, I'm like, what the crap? I should have learned that through the movie. That's the stuff that you should learn. Be like, hey, maybe she was attacked before. Maybe she didn't, she feels that she's
can't do that. They give away the mystery, dude.
Yeah, it would.
Well, not the, well, yeah.
It's done like one of those
I would say that
mysteries, right?
Right.
It's like
I
one
would-
of those, like,
I would
Edgar Allan
mention
Poe
it,
type
though.
stuff like this. Like, oh, by the way, here's what really was going on.
Right. I would
Right?
mention though she was attacked before.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And maybe she was
Because in
victim
the original
previously.
story, The Screaming Mimi, it's about a woman who was attacked. Somebody did a sculpture of her being attacked. That became The Screaming Mimi.
Mhm.
And her seeing that statue triggers
Triggered
that in there. And she has this like identification with the killer.
The killer.
And that's what happens. And in this one, he just made the statue a painting. Yeah.
yeah.
It's just
And-
so
and-
weird. That's all.
Yeah. It seemed like they could have just basically said she was the subject of the painting
Right.
and left it at that. All
Yeah.
the other stuff,
Something.
just kind of. But no, like I said, like I love that chase scene. A lot of the scenes where the killer is hunting the girl. Those are all really tense. And I really like the way they were pulled off. I mean, like the staircase one. They found that really cool triangular staircase thing, so they could do these really cool shots. Those looked great. I mean, that whole section looked great.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, in all of the interviews I had, each one showed that scene where the woman was in bed, with the everyone, even though they weren't talking about that scene. Every single one, they interviewed the actress, the main one with the huge chest that's in the bed. You know what I'm saying? You know which part I'm
By the
talking
way,
about.
she was my second favorite character.
I like it. Yeah, I'm with you.
Ha
I'm on the same page.
I get what you're saying. By the way, I put her in the intro. So
Yeah, I know. I saw that. And I went, it's everywhere. This is the
Yeah.
primary scene of this movie.
because it's one of the only actual scenes of murder
is.
that you get in the movie.
It is.
Yeah,
actually,
it is.
too.
And that kind of sucks. Because Argento did so much worse later. So it's
Yeah, he's
weird.
not quite given into the sleaze factor yet, bro.
Yeah. I
It's
know.
going to take
no.
a couple decades for that.
I'm about
But
that
yeah,
life.
I know it's his first movie, but like I know you mentioned in the intro that he, his dad was a producer, his mom was a photographer, and he started out as a film critic and then wrote movies. So like he understood movie structure long before doing any of this directing part. So like, and then when you mentioned, well, I know we'll get to the music, but apparently he lived 200 yards away from Ennio Morricone, who was friends with his dad. So that was part of how that connection.
Yeah,
there,
they did a
you
lot
know,
of
so-
movies together. They did some
Yeah.
movies together. Because didn't Morricone do?
Italian shit.
He did Once Upon a Time in the West, right?
Yeah,
with
he
that
did.
harmonicas, like the harmonica
Yeah.
theme and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
Dario
But,
wrote that film.
Yep. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say much more about just like without just going into all the different scenes and everything. I mean, like everything was there. There was no scene that seemed like it was just thrown in there.
Yeah.
Everything was done with a purpose and
Very
looked great.
deliberate, very purposeful, and right out the gate. Right.
Yep.
All right, Brooks.
Yep.
What about you? Style and structure.
Well, I like the style. I mean, it's a good murder mystery. It does at points for me kind of drag a little bit. I do kind of lose interest at parts, but it always pulls me back in. And it is very. It's like Argento's, like the violence is very toned down in this movie compared to what you expect from when you hear is a Dario Argento movie. You expect, oh, there's gonna be some fucked up thing, somebody's gonna get something through an eyeball or something.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Fulci was more of the eyeball guy, right?
Well, but Dario does his eyeball things in opera, especially. So
Yeah. But yeah, so like the violence is a little bit toned down. It's a little safer, but I mean, it's still interesting, and like I think it pulls it back together in the end. Like I started to, it's just, I don't know, I just can't explain exactly what it is that makes me lose interest. I just kind of fall off towards like the beginning of that third act.
yeah. Okay. I can dig that. I love the style and structure. I think it's deliberately paced. Like you guys have all nailed it on the head. I love the style of it. I love the great sets that they built or found. Like even that gallery, like that whole like that doorway thing, like the way it's beautifully shot. Like I remember everybody talking about, oh, this Ang Lee guy. This Ang Lee guy, like every frame should be a work of art, and like bro, they've been talking about this shit for decades. Dario Argento is one of them, right? So
Yeah, Ang Lee's a hack.
I don't think he's necessarily a hack, but that is what it is. Music, Ennio Morricone. Who do we know him from? What do we know him from? I don't know, all those spaghetti fucking westerns, wah, wah, wah. Good, the bad, and the ugly, all that stuff. Once Upon a Time in the West, but also as one of the composers, we should say, for The Thing, because Carpenter had a lot to do with that as well. I'm a big fan of his work. This is, to me, it's not my favorite Argento score. And the only problem is this. I think the score works for the film, for the period, for the time, for what they're going for. It works. I love the lullaby type thing, the la 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 la, like that kind of stuff. Those are themes that get repeated in like Tenebrae by Goblin. But that's the problem, is you're going up against an expectation I have of wanting to see a Keith Emerson or a Goblin score on an Argento movie, right? So it feels a little bit more loose, free-form, prog, jazz. I don't know music that well, so I don't know how to accurately describe it. But it works for the film, and it's fine. But it's not something that I enjoy just putting on and listening to, because it's just kind of fucking all over the place. What do you think about the music, Jelani?
I found it quite generic for Nico Morricone, to be honest. It's there, and it's fun, and I like the la 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 la. It's fine, but it gets repetitive in some parts. If I were to score the music, like if I were able to do that, I'd give it like a 2.5 out of 5. It's not the greatest. And
He's like, this is for my friend's kid. It's for my friend's kid.
I'm just doing this.
Here's some notes I had.
Yeah, here's some stuff I've done.
Some notes.
It's forgettable. The 3 times I've watched it, I try not to like really care about it. It's fine, and I'm not trying to diss the music. Don't get me wrong. It's just, it's kind of there. It's fine. There's not cool murder music. You need cool murder music in a horror movie like this, or not a horror movie, but it's just a mystery thriller. But it needs like poppier music. I need to feel something. I don't know. I need to feel something.
I thought I was going to be the Debbie Downer tonight, because usually I just rave on all of these scores, and I think I like this significantly more than you do. I think it's very appropriate for the film that they're going.
It's okay.
It's
like
not something I can put on. I can put on the Fright Night soundtrack. I can put on Suspiria and just listen to it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But this one, I tried like right before we got on here. I was sitting on the couch with Jamie. We were listening to the soundtrack, and I was just like, "This is so fucking weird." No, she was into it, but I was just like, "This is so fucking weird."
Oh, okay.
I just can't vibe with this. I just can't like smoke a bowl and put this on and just chill out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
What'd you think?
What'd you think about it, Brian?
I loved it. I mean, by design, I don't think it's one you should probably just put on to chill out to. I mean,
exactly.
Like
it's supposed to be uneasy.
Yeah, it's atonal. Like it's not. It's using all these things that are meant to make you unsettled. Like that's
I
like,
get you.
and I think that's why. Yeah, I think that's why I was like so enwrapped in a lot of the scenes was because I was unsettled
It's not
genuinely by
enemy.
the music, and I freaking love that. And I did like the lullaby kind of stuff too. Like that would just really help push it over the top in the scenes that it was used in. Yeah, I did go try to find the soundtrack. I didn't find it on the one app I looked, but I'm gonna try to check that out. But yeah, it's
on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube. It's like 30
I'm
minutes.
sure I can.
Yeah.
I'm sure I can. Yeah, but I love that stuff. I dig on stuff that's just way outside all that stuff. The everything, because that's when you were talking about expecting Goblin and things like that. That Goblin soundtrack for Suspiria, I heard that several times before I actually watched the movie.
Goblin's baller.
That's
man.
easily listenable over and over again. But I think it's, yeah, I guess, you mentioned it, for this tone for the movie, like it fits better, but it would be hard for me to compare the two, but like I could find similarities between this and Suspiria, so I don't know, maybe it's just two different approaches for, somewhat of a similar effect, it's, yeah, I don't know. It's, I really dug the music. I'm going to, check it out some more. So, but yeah, it was something on there, like Ennio Morricone's apparently composed 400 movies. 400.
Yeah,
he's done a
It's
lot.
amazing.
He does a lot of work.
Yeah. So
he likes music.
But yeah, that soundtrack for Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is one of the best soundtracks of all time, in my opinion.
I agree.
It's so dope. So.
What about you, Brooks? What do you think about the music in the film?
That was good. I thought, it popped at just the right points in the film. It set the mood without, being too invasive. I could see how it would probably not work as well separated from the movie. I could see it not being a soundtrack for you to sit and chill and listen to.
Unless you're
But
Brian.
I think, like, in the
day.
context of this film, it works really well. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite of his soundtracks, though, because
there's so much stuff out there, man.
like Once Upon a Time in the West is like one of my favorite. It's probably one of my favorite soundtracks, like, of all time. Like, especially that Cheyenne theme.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like this is still hit. It's still more common. It's still good, but it doesn't quite like reach those kind of levels for me. I think it does seem kind of like it's just like him, like just here you go, kid. Here's some tunes for your film.
Yeah, right.
Just some of my backtrack.
But it does work,
Yeah.
and I think Dario's as he has success, he does eventually start wrestling a lot of control into his films, including with the
Goblin.
music. Because it's not just Goblin that makes that music work; it's Dario as well. Because it always says Goblin in collaboration with Dario Argento. William is reminding us that, of course, Bird with Crystal Plumage is the first part of the Animal trilogy, which are his first three films. Next is Cat of Nine Tails, and then there's Four Flies on Great Velvet, and we get Albert in the house. So what's up, my man? Y'all keep saying Morricone. So is it Morricone, not Morricone? Because I've always said that. So I guess I've been wrong.
Morricone.
Yeah.
I don't know how to
Sounds
say
better when
things.
it's like Morricone. Anyway, what's the movie trying to say? What's the theme, Jelani?
I didn't really think of this as well as I should have, but I think it's basically when you decide to not to become a victim and you become the predator. Not that I'm trying to learn that, but that's what I got out of it. When I'm sorry, when the killer decides to play the killer as opposed to being the victim, and what you feel from that, like, she's basically killing people because she was attacked, and she empathizes more with her attacker than she does with that. That's what I got. That's what I get from it.
Interesting.
And it's from the killer, and it's a weird thing. It's a weird word I get from it.
No,
every time I watch it. The first time I saw it, I was like, I hate this movie. I don't really like it. It's kind of boring. It's kind of stupid.
It's just you started off tonight like being rather profound about what it was saying about perception.
It
so
is.
I was expecting
What you
see.
see. What you see. No, it's the same thing to me.
Yeah.
It is what you see and it's what is expected, or what is expected and what is actually is. That's what it is. That's what I'm saying right now.
Yeah, gotcha.
It's the fact that the victim sees themselves and perceives themselves as the predator, and that's what I get from this movie. It's just so weird that I would never sympathize with my attacker. I would never do that. There would be no reason for me to do that. I mean, like, I want to be stronger. I want to learn how to fight that for the future.
I don't know. Have you ever voted have you ever been really into a politician?
Yeah, once.
That's sympathizing with your attacker.
That's true. That's true too. God, that's true. Yeah, voting is gonna be hard for me.
Dang.
Yeah, that's what I got from it. That's what I got from it. So.
What about you, Brian? What's the movie trying to say, man?
Okay, so I'm going to cheat a little bit because when I was watching it, when I know I'm doing this for the movie night, I try to think what are the themes, what am I pulling out of it, and I had trouble with this one because I was really just wrapped up in the mystery of it and following along with that. But in the interview with Dario Argento that I watched afterwards, he talked about memory being one of the prime themes, and that all clicked just with him saying that. I was just like, oh, that makes a lot of sense because that's kind of what drove him was because, when he witnessed the event, there was something nagging at him. He was interviewed multiple times by the police, but he was like, there's just something wrong about it. And it speaks to like just memory. The insecurity of memory, right? I mean, like the more we access memories, the more we change them. And a lot of times we change memories to what we want it to be. So like, it kind of makes sense that you would change the memory to the female being the victim, right? Because that's typically what that would be. Like a man would, be attacking the woman. And so, and then the memory for the woman, the killer, right? I mean, she had this attack and she, suppressed all that, all that stuff. And then it came back out, in these, violent ways and everything like that. And so that's kind of what I thought was, pretty much primary theme after, like I said, after he said that, it just unlocked all that stuff for me. It like got me thinking a lot more.
Your memory was triggered.
Yep, it did. It did.
Absolutely. So. Oh, that's all right there, especially from the man's mouth himself, right?
Yep.
What about you, Brooks? What's this movie saying to you?
Well, I think it's about how painful experiences from our past can stick with us, even when if you think you're over it, all it takes is like something like, seeing it and being reminded of it again. And, it's like it just, it's like it just happened yesterday sometimes. Like, there are just certain things in your past that you just can't run away from. And like, even as hard as you try to, move on and deal with it, sometimes, you're just one step away from, revisiting those kind of unpleasant feelings that you thought, you thought were behind you.
You ever scream in the shower, Brooks?
No, surprisingly, I've never done that.
Okay.
That's the one thing I haven't done in the shower.
That's all I do.
He's baked cookies in the shower, goddammit.
Fried some eggs over hard.
I can dry my hair in the shower.
No idea.
This movie's got layers. It's saying some things.
That's a lot of stuff, man.
What I picked up was obviously perception and obsession. And there's a lot involving the killer, which Brooks pointed out. And memory ties into some of the perception stuff, I think, right? Like, do we remember necessarily what we perceive, and what our expectation is on top of that? And obsession and how our obsessions filter into our perception, right?
Yeah.
But I think all of them are foundational themes building up the main theme to me, because I got to go back to the main character. What is Sam's journey? It's a struggle with impotence. It's impotence. And I don't just mean in a sexual nature, but I do mean it in a true creative sexual nature, right?
He's got writer's block, right?
He's got writer's block. He went to Italy to break his writer's block. He couldn't, so he had to do a commercial book, right? Just to keep rent paid up to a point to then he's going back to the US now. So his trip as a writer to be inspired in Italy is failed. Okay. So it leads to his obsession. It leads to his perception because he's looking for an idea. He's looking for an insight. He's looking for an inspiration. He's grasping. Why does he get so fucking obsessed with this case when it's literally trying to kill him?
Yeah,
you know what
you
I'm saying?
Leave when I get attacked by like a freaking guy with a butcher knife. I'm gone.
Yeah,
give me my passport.
I mentioned that scene when he comes home and his lady's like, "Don't you want to come to bed?" Right? And she's wearing like lingerie or a teddy or something. She's like, "Don't you want to come to bed?" He grabs the drink and she goes, "It's been a month." And like that shit's in there on purpose, right? So the whole bit in the beginning when he's trapped between those doors in the gallery watching this attack take place, he's impotent, right? He can't, he's not successful. He's struggling, trying so hard. The police detective, why does he relate to him so well? He's fucking impotent. How inept is a goddamn police department when you're literally just going to this failed fucking writer and like that's your best fucking lead? And you're turning every bit of the case over to him. And like they talk about this, right? They talk about how inept they are in this movie. And
bad computer.
Yeah, and then we have the whole reveal at the end where the killer's actually the woman. That's a whole bit. Argento gets criticized for being misogynistic and being very violent towards women. I think that is completely bullshit because I think he's an equal opportunity fucker-upper. You know what I'm saying? If you really watched his wide variety of films. Now, if you get into the fucking 90s, the mid-90s and up, I understand what you're saying. Okay? Italian dudes get old. They get weird. Okay? That's just the way it works, apparently, in cinema. But he is actually in this movie and builds into it in other films. He's got homosexual characters. He's got gender fluid characters. There's a funny little bit in here where they bring in a transgender woman
joke.
Right? Yeah. And they're like, I've told you before, the transvestites don't go with the perverts, right? Like that's funny.
Hope not.
I hope not. But he's like, this is something in his goddamn films. Like, and you start thinking about it. It's in Tenebrae. It's in all these movies. There are gender fluid ideas in some of his movies. Now, I'm not saying that he's ultra progressive as far as sexual politics and identity go. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that he's not what I think he's been pegged to. The reason why is because he did an interview one time and he said, if I'm going to have a murder on screen and watch someone be killed, I'd rather it be a beautiful woman. He said that one time. And I'm kind of like, I think I understand what he's saying. But whatever, if you're going to have to watch someone be murdered,
it's a waste.
It's actually weird to even try to defend that statement. But so I'm just going to be like, that's why I think it's a exploration on impotence. I think that's Sam's struggle. I think that's his journey. And he doesn't really, because even when he thinks he solves the murder, he doesn't. He's grasping at so many fucking straws to matter, to be important, to be significant, to have that inspiration that he misses his fucking flight to go find this freak ass fucking artist who eats fucking cats. And you have to get into his apartment through a ladder, through a window, because he doesn't trust people except for cats. Whatever.
It eats.
That's what I think. So now it's time to rate the film out of 5 possible you digs, Jelani. And you out there in the chat, let us know if you watched the film. I know Two Gun watched it. He said that makes sense. I don't know which one he was referring to, but I think we all made a little bit of sense there. What's up, Chill Out Man, as well. So, Jelani, out of 5 possible you digs, what do you give The Bird with the Crystal Plumage?
It's a great film. If you like Dario Argento, or if you want to dip your toe into what giallo is, this is a great film to get started with. I'm gonna give it. I'll give it a 4 because I didn't enjoy the music. Other than that, this movie is a treat. It's a freaking nutty treat. It just makes. It's paced well. It tells a good story. Weird exposition dump at the end, but it still makes you kind of empathize and feel bad for the killer in some ways. It tells a brilliant tale by Dario Argento. It's his first foray into film, and you can tell because his other work is just. But it's just one of those films you gotta watch because like when I saw Suspiria, when I was introduced to Suspiria, I engulfed myself in like Dario Argento's life. I needed to know like why this guy is like insane, and followed these movies, watched all pretty much a good bit of them with Robbie, and it's just such a great film to, if you want to get into Argento, other than just watch Suspiria, this is a good dip your toe in, and it tells you what this story is. So I give it a 4. I said I've watched it 3 times. I'll watch it probably 10 more as I go along in my lifetime. So it's just that decent. So I totally watch it.
I just imagine now Jelani watches this movie 9 more times and realizes what he said and never watches it a 10th time and lives forever.
Yeah. And especially the girl that gets attacked. She can get.
I'm going to tell you, man, she got huge tracts of land. You know what I'm saying?
She can totally get it.
Brian, what about you, man? What do you give this out of 5 you digs?
I give it 4.5. I mean, I really liked it. The only part I didn't like was the exposition dump at the end. That just it's like it hit me in the face.
You gotta give me
like,
points. Yeah.
Well, you see, it's all clear now. This is what happened.
So, but that's just kind of a, as a comic book reader, as comics have evolved too, I get real annoyed with exposition dumps and that too. So if they're spaced out in certain ways and things like that, that's to me a better way to do it. But no, I mean, I want to watch a lot more of Dario Argento's films. So Robbie, if you get a chance and remember to bring some in, I would like to borrow some.
Do you still have something in mind?
Yeah. Brazil.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to have that back. And Brooks, don't you have my Hannibal Lecter?
I have your Hannibal Lecter.
I'll give your stuff back.
Yeah, thank you.
I plan on giving it back in much quicker time than that Illuminatus trilogy.
Bro, I told you already. Anyway, moving on. Brooks,
I gave you a gift.
Out of 5 you digs. What do you think about this film?
I'd give it a 3.5. It's above average, definitely. But I do kind of lose interest in a little bit. But I think the more I watch it, the more I'd watch it, the more I'd start to, I'd like it more. But it's pretty good.
All right. I'm going to give it a 4.5, right along with Brian. I really like this film. I think it's great for a directorial debut of one of my favorite filmmakers. I think it's one of his strongest films and you look at the whole overall, it's definitely in the top 50% of his films, in my opinion. So I absolutely love this film. I'm going to give it a 4.5. So 4.5 from me and Brian, 4 from Jelani, 3 from Brooks.
3.5.
3.5 from Brooks. For a PCP average of 4.1. 69, dudes. Yeah. Then out there in the chat, Two Gun Pedro says 3.69. And William says 4 out of 5 you digs. For the novel, though, Screaming Mimi, give it 5 out of 5. I need to check out the novel. They also, there is a film adaptation of the novel from the 60s. So, absolutely. So there you go. That's our rating. That is our thus concludes our review for The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. And we only got one more movie here on PCP Movie Night for March Madness, but we're rolling right on through. Coming up this weekend, it's supposed to be Saturday, but Dylan sent me some news today. Who knows? It's up in the air when we're going to do this now.
I want to be on this one.
But Midsummer is the next March Madness Dylan's Horror Show. Whether that happens Friday night, Saturday night, next week, who fucking knows? But apparently we'll see. But Midsummer, there's that. But next week here on Monday night, we're going to wrap up March Madness with April Fool's Day. Y'all, I'm excited. It's a slasher film from 1986 centered around a holiday, and it's dumb as fuck. And it's going to be so much fun to talk about. I love this film in that kind of way. I think you guys are going to be rather impressed with that film if you've never seen it. Have you? Any of y'all seen it?
I've never seen it.
Oh, is it streaming anywhere? We got to see.
We can find out, yeah.
Because that's something we need to because, it does suck when we cover a movie. And
I can find it.
Nobody can find it, like Near Dark or some shit.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I think this one might be a little bit hard to find. You can rent it. I think you can rent it online. You can rent it for sure on Amazon.
I'll find it.
I own the Blu-ray. Make sure you're watching the 86 one. I think there was a remake or something.
Yeah, there was a remake, but I've never seen either one. So
yeah, the 86 one. So next week, join us for the PCP finale of March Madness. That is the finale of March Madness. It's April Fool's Day, and at some point later this week, probably Friday, Saturdays, who knows? We're doing Midsummer on Dylan's Horror Show. That's up in the air right now, but we are doing it. But April Fool's Day next week. Anyway, no PCP back chat tonight. We're dipping out early tonight, but we encourage you to watch The Bird with Crystal Plumage. If you haven't ever been able to check it out, it is on Tubi where you can stream it for free. Jelani, thank you for being here. Final thoughts?
Yeah, glad to be here. Always is a pleasure. March Madness has been a weird trip for me because I've seen most of these movies, and wow, to revisit this one was a real treat. So thank you again for having me here and talking about this fun film. That's it.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a fun film. What about you, Brian? What final thoughts?
Horrible murder.
Yeah. Thank you for, give me the Blu-ray, and I really appreciate it. And I don't know. I want to watch more Dario Argento films. So I'm pretty excited to watch some more.
I don't have all of them, but I have most of the ones that are considered his best.
I gotta watch Tenebrae again. I love Tenebrae.
If there's going to be if you're going to do more of these on these shows, I would like to be considered to share more, about these.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of Sharon is Karen. Be sure to share this show, aka podcast, whatever you want to call it. Brooks, thank you for being here. Final thoughts?
All right, just thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road. Come back again.
Yeah, we all appreciate you, Robbie.
I appreciate y'all too, and I don't want to be.
Now I'd like 2 eggs over hard.
Or maybe I do. You never know. Anyway, my final thoughts are pop, pop, boom. We love you. And watch more Italian horror from the 70s and 80s. It'll do you some good. We're out.
Yeah.